Okay, let's look at exercise 8-19 in your text. This is on page 531. We're going to be doing a bank reconciliation for Harrison Photography, and they've given us the checkbook here. They've got the dates, check numbers, identified what the item was, like a description, the check amount, if it was a deposit, what the deposit amount was, and a running balance here. So that's the checkbook. Then we've got the November bank statement over here. Okay, so this is a little different than the last example we did with a bank reconciliation where we actually have to look at the items and it's not given to us in a narrative form. So I've already got it set up here in that Excel work file for you. It's already set up. We've got our heading, identifying what statement we're preparing, and the date. So first thing we're going to do is look at these items given to us over here and get our balances for our bank and our book at the beginning. Okay, so this is always going to be our ending cash balance for whatever period we're reporting on. So this is for November, so it's going to be November 30th. We want to know what the balance on our books are, so the balance in the general journal and the balance that the bank has at November 30th. So on our books, we've got look at the checkbook here. It says November 30th. So our running balance here is $13.25. So we're going to come over here and we're going to put our balance and put November 30th. Okay, it's $13.25. And then we'll do the same thing for our cash. Cash for the bank. So let's look at the bank statement down here. So if you look down here, that's our beginning balance is the $540. Then we had all these transactions, the deposits, checks, and other charges that went through. So our balance is $370. So that's what we're going to put on our bank reconciliation. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put my cash balance, November 30th. And it's going to be the $370. All right. Then we're going to go through and we're just going to look at all the items listed on our checkbook over here and see to make sure that it's been listed on our bank statement and then kind of check it off. So the first thing over here is check number 622 for $15, and then I'm going to come down here and see if I see it on the bank statement. And I do, so I'm going to check that off. So I'm going to check that off. And then we've got check 622 right here. So there's nothing to do. It's on both our side, so on our checkbook, on our books, and it's listed on the bank statement. So there's nothing to do with it. It's not a difference in our cash balances. So then I'm going to go to the next item. The next item here is service revenue, and it was a deposit of $130. And I'm going to come down here to the bank and see if I see that deposit. And there it is right there. So I'm going to check it off. All right, and then do the same thing here. So check off that service company, service revenue of $130, and it's good. It's in both places, nothing for us to do with it. Then we've got check 623 for $55. Come down here to the bank. There it is. So mark it off. And then we've got check 624. Now, check 624, it says for utilities was $75 on our checkbook. But when I come down here to the bank statement, I got check 624, but it says $115. And it has an asterisk there, and it says this is the correct amount for check number 624. All right, so that means that the check was actually written for $115. But on my checkbook up here, I have it written down for $75. So that means that's an error on my books. I made a mistake. I wrote down the wrong amount in my journal and my checkbook. So that's going to be something we're going to have to adjust for over here on our bank reconciliation. So the bank has it right, so there's nothing to adjust over here. So I'm going to come over here on my book side and I'm going to adjust this. Now, looking at this, I should have written it on my books for $115, but I only wrote it for $175. So this is going to be a subtraction. I should have did it for $115, but I only did it for $75. So that difference of $40, that's going to reduce my cash balance on my books. So I'm going to put this as a book error for check 624. And I'm doing a subtraction of $40 on my books. Okay. All right, so then we got that taken care of. Let's look at the next item. The next item is check 625. Come down here on my bank statement. There it is, check 625. The amounts agree, so I can mark those off, and I'm good. All right. The next item is office supplies for check 626. Well, that was all the checks on our bank statement. So all of these other checks listed here on my books must be those outstanding checks. Remember, the outstanding checks are checks that we've written and have not cleared the bank. So I'm going to come over here and go on my book side of my bank reconciliation and list outstanding checks. And typically we're going to list these out. So I'm going to list them individually, check 626, and list the amount, which is $85, and check number 627, which was $265, and I'm going to get my total of outstanding checks, which is $350. Okay, so I wrote those two down, so I got those taken care of. Then the last item on my checkbook is service revenue. Okay, it says deposit service revenue, $1,200. So that deposit's nowhere on my bank statement. So that must mean that's one of those deposits in transit. So I got it on my books, but it hasn't cleared the bank yet. So my deposit in transit, I'm going to have it as an addition to my bank side. So I'm going to add in that $1,210 over here. All right. So that's everything in my checkbook accounted for. Now let's finish up the bank statement and have a look and see what else is listed there. So on our bank statement, we've got other charges. We've got printed checks was $35 and a service charge of $20. So these are going to be things that are going to reduce our book side because they're already on the bank statement. So they're going to come over here and they're going to reduce our book side. So we're going to do less bank charges of $55. All right, and now I can total over here. I've got all of these subtractions total up to $95 on my book side. And let's look, is there anything else on the bank statement that we need to account for? No. Okay, so we didn't have any additions, we just had subtractions. So let's total up and get our adjusted balances. So when I total up the bank side, I get my adjusted bank balance at November 30th is $1930, and these should agree. Okay, remember our adjusted balances should agree. So let's do the same thing for books. Alright, so it looks like we're missing something. So these, oh, there's our other charges, service charges. Alright, looks like this should be a subtraction. Okay, remember these are outstanding checks and these are reducing our bank balance. So this should be a subtraction over there. All right, so now we balance. So our adjusted bank balance is $1,230 and our adjusted book balance is $1,230. And so we've accounted for all the differences in our balances. All right, so now the next step is to prepare our journal entries for the bank reconciliation. Remember, we can't do anything about the bank side. The bank balance and the bank statement is what it is, but we're going to adjust for anything that we have listed on our book side of our bank reconciliation. Okay, so we're going to take all of these right here and we're going to adjust for these charges right here. So for the book error and the bank charges. So let's look at the bank charge first. All right, so the bank charges, we're going to come over here and we're just going to do, it depends on the company. Sometimes they might go to actual just all bank charges. If they have enough charges in like checks and things like that, they might have their own account for that, or just have it all in miscellaneous. So we're just going to go ahead and debit bank charges for 55 and credit our cash. Remember, it's reducing cash, 55. And that's going to record our bank charges. The next item was for check 624. All right, so remember, let's go back over here and see what was that check written for. So over here it says it's written for utilities, and we didn't put the right amount, okay, and we did it by less $40. So we should have had $40 more in utilities expense according to that. So when we adjust for this, we're going to debit utilities expense for the $40 and then credit cash. So it's important to go back when we have those errors in a check like that and make sure we know what it was written for and what expense it would have been associated with, because that's where we're going to adjust for the error. Okay, so there's our bank reconciliation and our required journal entries for this problem. If you guys have any questions on how to do this, please post your question in the Chapter 8 discussion questions board or send me an email.